Good morning. It's Sunday, July 12th. Thanks for joining us for News 8 this week. This past week, the federal government launched the long-awaited Trump accounts. These are investment accounts for children in the U.S. Behind me, you can see some of the projections from the Trump account website about how those accounts could grow. Anyone under 18 is eligible, but children born between 2025 and 2028 are getting a $1,000 bonus to get them going. These accounts allow anyone to contribute, including employers. Dozens of companies have already said they'd participate. And according to the White House, more than 6 million accounts had been requested in just the first couple of days. Now, not everyone thinks it's a good idea. Congressman Benny Thompson from Mississippi is telling his constituents to pass on a Trump account, likening them to Trump University. A little later in the show, we'll talk with the CEO of an app called Busy Kid. That's all about teaching kids financial literacy, to get his take on how families can best leverage these accounts. But first, we talked to the White House about the program's apparent early popularity.
We're sort of a week into this, just about. How surprised are you about how many people have already registered for an account? Is this what you were hoping for, or is it under or more than what you were expecting?
Yeah, I think we're very happy with the progress we've seen so far on Trump accounts. I think even heading into July 4th, which is when the Trump accounts officially opened up and launched, we had about 6 million kids signed up for a Trump account. 86% of those 6 million kids were from households making under $200,000 a year, meaning we had millions of children from middle and working class families who were signed up to start building generational wealth through Trump accounts. Since then, we've already continued to see more and more signups each day, especially after the Monday event. And more importantly, we've seen a cascade of companies and philanthropists who have also announced that they're going to be contributing to the Trump accounts of their employees' kids or of kids of a particular state or locality or something like that. So we're very happy with the number of both in terms of the number of kids signed up for Trump accounts and the number of philanthropists and companies who are voluntarily stepping up to contribute to these Trump accounts.
I'm curious, though, about maybe is there an underlying hope here that with that there be a shift in how families perhaps think about wealth and setting their kids up for success, and how companies begin to see the value in helping that along?
Absolutely. I think what we're trying to do is number one, set up kids so that when they start adult life off, that they have a bit of a head start in life, to have money saved up to buy a home, to start a business, to go to school, to do whatever. But more importantly, I think, the way the app is designed, it's very sleek, it's very intuitive. And our hope is for children to have understand that they have a stake in their own financial future. And so we want to encourage children and parents to think about, how do we save and how do we build wealth? I think the way the app works is that there's literally a QR code. So, if you want to send money to someone or put money in their Trump account, you can literally just do it right through the app. And so we're hoping to see kids, for instance, if you're a kid and you mow lawns for your neighbors for some spare cash, instead of using $20 to go buy some candy or soda or pizza or whatever, that you instead ask for that $20 to be put into your Trump account, so you can see that wealth build as you grow older. So we're definitely hoping for this to be a strong downstream cultural effect where kids and families think more about financial literacy and think more about building wealth as they age.
As you think back, maybe your future self thinks back about the legacy of President Donald Trump, where do you think something like this will rank in terms of things that he has accomplished?
I think this is going to rank very high. Obviously, we still have plenty of time to go for the president to continue building on his legacy, but I think we're really going to see the results of this in 20 years, and 30 years, and 40 years. When you see that first batch of who are now right now children, but when you see those children become adults, enter the workforce, start buying a home, starting a business, and you see the real world effect of having starting adult life off with the head start thanks to these Trump accounts. I think this is going to be a generational shift. I think in the Oval Office, Ted Cruz is saying that this is equivalent, President Trump's equivalent to the New Deal or Social Security, and I think that's very much so. I think in a generation from now, 2 generations from now, I think you're going to start seeing people talk about how Trump accounts really made a huge difference in their lives.
There may be concerns that at some point someone is in the White House or there's a Congress that perhaps has an animus towards the president and thinks, how do we undo this? Is there any concern or relief that you can provide to people that say, no, this is going to be in place even past this administration?
Absolutely. Look, here's the thing. What the president has done here is ensure that American children can start adult life off with the Head Start by using the power of compound growth to build wealth. And so, for any Democrat or any other politician down the line to want to strip American children of this opportunity, it's something that I just don't think is. I think this will be a very much a third rail situation where everyone's going to realize how positive this is, how generational this is, and keep it in place. And with regards to the name, I know with folks not liking the name, I mean, look, there's that Shakespeare line: "A rose by any other name would smell just as sweet," and Trump accounts by any other name would be just as generational of a policy change for America's children to again start adult life off with the Head Start.
And I think you may have sort of just already addressed this, but I want to get your take on this. Congressman Benny Thompson out of Mississippi has tweeted recently that he would pass on Trump accounts. Why would someone recommend that to their constituents?
You know, it is absolutely infuriating to see someone, to see a Democrat say such a thing. The reality is that number one, Democrats have spent a long time talking, uh, especially on the far left, talking about, the rise in income inequality. And here's a situation where the president has set up a mechanism for some of the wealthiest individuals and corporations in our country to voluntarily give their wealth to middle and working class children. And for a Democrat to come out and oppose that because of politics is insane. And I would recommend every American parent or grandparent to go out there, set up a Trump account, and contribute to it, and not listen to this political noise. Because at the end of the day, it's your child's future that we're talking about. And what this administration is doing, what this president is trying to do with these Trump accounts, is to again make sure your children have the best possible future.
Kush, very good information. I appreciate you taking the time. Thanks so much.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Coming up in 8 minutes, we'll talk to Greg Merced. He's the CEO of Busy Kid. That's that app designed to help kids learn how to manage their money. We'll get some tips about how parents can leverage these accounts. Welcome back. Sony will stop producing new physical video games in January of 2028. Maddie France shows us what this means for people who buy and play games and how it could impact affordability.
We are primarily a video game store, but we definitely have a little bit of everything.
If you're looking for anything nerdy, Disc Replay in Davenport is your best bet.
And then we also kind of will hit every range from like the very retro up to the very modern.
Sean Davis is the store manager. A lot of those modern games come out on the PlayStation 5.
You might find a game on PlayStation's on network store for about $60, whereas we might be selling it for closer to 30 or 40.
But in a couple years,
it really is going to cut down on choice.
There won't be new games to put on this shelf. Sony won't produce discs for games released after January 2028.
I felt kind of disgusted is the best way I put it.
Jaime Padilla is a lifelong PlayStation fan. Without the secondary market, he worries people won't be able to afford the games they want. For example, God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah, exactly. $33. If I went to the PlayStation store, it would be $70.
Resale stores and retailers compete with Sony to moderate prices.
The issue is now, if they're all digital, you can buy it exactly one place.
Another concern, physical ownership.
Digital games you don't really own.
Last month, Sony announced over 550 movies and TV shows would be removed from UK and European users' libraries over a licensing change. No refunds.
There's nothing stopping it from being taken away later on down the road.
It could be 50 years in the future, a nuclear war happens, you still own the disc. It's still yours.
Padilla's biggest worry, that this decision will influence other companies to follow suit.
It'll start just a bad generation of gaming for everyone involved.
In Davenport, Maddie France, WQAD News 8.
Now, Sony says the change will only impact games released after January 2028. Anything released before then will still be put on discs. All right, we hope you're enjoying your Sunday morning. Let's get you ready for the rest of the day and the week ahead with your accurate forecast. Back to our discussion on Trump accounts this morning. The question now is whether this is a good idea for your family and what the right way to approach it is. This week, we talked with Greg Merced. He's the CEO of BusyKid, an app designed to help kids learn how to manage their money. He tells us the answer is not as clear-cut as it might seem.
When this announcement was made months ago that this was coming, I have to imagine your brain started firing a little bit, because this is a little bit in your wheelhouse when it comes to financial planning and setting kids up for success.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Trump accounts, in and of themselves is pretty good idea. Like, all right, let's get kids jump started, give them a little seed money. As you know, this is pretty much for kids born between 2025 and 2028. So it's like a smaller window, right? And it's essentially those kids that are born. So this is like babies, right? So we have babies getting seed money to essentially go all the way to their retirement. So this is a long pole, right? This is a long situation to get them started. I like the idea that kids will be able to look at something and say, hey, that's mine for in the future. What does it mean? What's it invested in? How does this work, right? This is probably a good seed to plant, right? For them to start understanding that. I still think they need to have a little bit more education when it comes to all that as they get older and grow. But this is a great start.
How do you integrate this if a family chooses to do this? How do you integrate this, perhaps in the app that you run, BusyKid, or just in general financial discussions?
Funny you ask. So, John, literally, one of my sons who had a baby last year, he didn't, but the family, what did he send me? He sends me this little request. Hey, you want to contribute to Easton's Trump account, right? It's just like, okay, here we go, right? Yeah. And this is another thing that I think is good. It can now have family members, right? Grandparents, whatever, they can kick in up to $5,000 on the Trump account per year. So that's another great way to kind of add to that nest egg for that kid. Employers are even kicking in. They have like the Dell Foundation, others, they're all kind of kicking in. So it's this kind of group effort, which is great. And it's getting this all kicked off. But I think it all comes back for us. It's the fundamentals of money, right? How do you earn it, right? This is kind of giving it to them, but okay, that's fine to give some money to a kid, but how are they going to earn it, right? Because they got to earn money the rest of their life. So how do we teach them to earn? And then once they earn the money, how do they manage it in a responsible way?
I'm going to ask you a question. This is not a political question, but I do want to acknowledge that because Trump's name is attached to it, there may be some reticence on people's parts to be involved with it. Maybe they perhaps have a bit of animus towards the president. Maybe they are concerned about, is this a private thing? Is this a public thing? Can you give us some confidence that this is a safe choice for people to make, if you believe that, or if there are just other options that are very similar that parents can look at?
Yeah, well, that's a loaded question. Good job, John.
I don't mean it to be. Yeah, I really don't.
So yeah, there's going to be some people that are just like, yeah, Trump. But I guess I would have them bring it back to literally, this is just like an IRA. It's just happens to be called a Trump account. But we call things traditional IRAs. We call them Roth IRAs. We call them Trump accounts. It's just a title. What it really is this underlying law that says you can put away money on a tax favored basis, right? So I guess I would just try to say, just think of it that way. Like, this is just another tax favored way of putting money away, right? And so the other thing that maybe your viewers need to understand is that money that goes into those Trump accounts, right? It grows on a tax deferred basis, okay? What that means is that you put in money over time, and at the end of the road, right, when you're 59 and a half is the real age. If so, you're 60 years old now and you want to start taking this money out, then is the time that you start paying the tax on it. Okay. So just kind of understand that. Now there's other avenues that you can go down, like a Roth IRA, right? If you put in money into a Roth IRA and then at the end of the road, 60-ish, right, you start taking money out, that money is tax free at the end of that road, right? So there's a big differentiation between a tax-deferred growth vehicle and a tax-free growth vehicle. And you got to have your eyes wide open on that, right? Because maybe your specific family, maybe the best way to do that, if your kid has earned income, let's say they're 14 and they're busting it out, mowing lawns and watching dogs on the summertime and whatever, and they're actually generating, a few $1,000s or whatever, it might be much better to actually put it into a Roth IRA because it's going to grow for 40, 50 years and then take it out on a tax-free basis. So you got to be smart with that stuff. You got to really understand it and just know that there are some differences. And once you do that, then you can figure it out. But don't just jump into something just because it's new and exciting. You got to really know what you're doing for your own family. Was that too geeky? I mean, that was a lot of financial jargon right there.
But that's exactly what I hope this drives.
Yeah.
Us doing this interview and just in general, that it drives intelligent conversations that can be beneficial to people so that they can
Absolutely.
decide what to do with their money. Obviously,
Knowledge is power, right? And you got to know what's going on. In the actual Trump account, there's a period of time, it's to their age of 18, right? Essentially, there's a no touch provision. Like, you can't touch this money, right? You can't do anything with it for the first 18 years. After that, there's a few ways you can kind of get off the freeway, right? You can use some of that money. You can do it for education. You can use it as a first-time home buy. You've got a few ways you can kind of get out of it. But it's really truly intended to be a retirement vehicle. Like, it's truly an IRA underneath the hood. And so I hope people don't think, oh, this is a great way to fund my kid's education. Because there's other ways to do that. Like, there's a 529, right? And there's some other ways to fund an education. This is probably not the best way to fund an education, right? It's truly made to be a long-term retirement vehicle that gets kickstarted with some seed money. I mean, that's really kind of the bottom line. But you really kind of have to have your eyes open as to that longer run. I mean, if you did that, if you did the $5,000 for, let's say, 18 years, right? That's a pretty good amount of money, right? That's going to be, what is that? That's going to be 80,000-ish, right? And then you let that grow for 40 years, that's going to turn into $500,000 kind of thing. And that $500,000, do you want it tax deferred or do you want it tax free, right? That's where I'm like, you kind of have to think through your options because that's a big tax on a big number.
Changing the subject just a little bit, I want to understand. You run Busy Kid. I understand it's going well. Can you talk a little bit about maybe what's new with your app and how that can further help families, just aside from all of what we've talked about already?
Yeah, sure. No, thank you. What we've done is our goal was always to give technology to families so that they can be smart with their money and teach their kids something as they're growing up, right? So they're smarter with their money and make better decisions. Bottom line, that's what we've always wanted to do. What we've done recently is we've actually been partnering with local community banks and credit unions to actually use our app to do that same thing for their customers and members. And so that's been super exciting. We've got a bunch of banks and credit unions doing that now. So what they're doing is they're giving the family that Busy Kid experience, but it's kind of in their brand, essentially, right? And so you can now get it from your local community bank or credit union free to the end member or customer, but learn all the stuff that we're trying to teach. So it's been a great thing to partner with like banks and credit unions that care about what's going on in their community, the families that they serve, they care about them. So they're giving them this kind of thing to help them. So same goal, just different delivery system now.
We'll wrap up the program when we come back. Stay with us. Before we go this morning, July 8th was the anniversary of the first public reading of the Declaration of Independence back in 1776. On Wednesday, the document was read out loud in Rock Island. This morning, we leave you with a moment from that event. Thanks for watching.
In Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.